I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking all about how to navigate the holiday season when you're on the fertility journey. We're going to be looking at this completely differently, talking about the biochemical side of things to get yourself, your body in the best shape, as well as the mental, emotional side of these things to be able to navigate the holiday parties, the family gatherings, seeing friends, all of this with while you're on the fertility journey on your own terms. So excited for you to listen. Let's go. Okay, it is the holiday season once again. I literally can't believe it because a couple weeks ago I was trying to book into my calendar. I'm like, why is my calendar broken? What's wrong with it? I was trying to book in September. Somehow I've lost the last 2 months. But here we are as we head into the holiday season. And this can be really tough when you're on the fertility journey. So I'm going to take you through 3 steps, things you can look at right now to help you navigate this season, have you look at this completely differently. So you're going to have a plan to move forward to improve pregnancy success. So when you get those, well-meaning, but really, frankly, quite annoying questions when someone's like, are you pregnant yet? Where's the baby? And they start joking with you as you start to see family and friends. And this is not a joke. And so people, it's kind of like you know, how's the weather conversation starter where people are like, well, do you have kids? And then family members, obviously, it can be a little more intrusive, right? They're like, what's happening? And if you haven't shared with close friends and family, people sometimes haven't. This is the journey that impacts every aspect of your life, from joy to relationships to your social life to your career. All of it sometimes can be put on hold as you're trying to navigate expanding your family. And the moment you start trying is when is when you want to have your baby. And if it's not working, it's extremely frustrating. There's a lot of heartache, and there can be a lot of triggers too as you're navigating your daily life. You see families, you see children, you see pregnant bellies, you see people that are just eating whatever they want, doing whatever they want, and they get pregnant. And you're like, I'm over here making all these changes, eating clean, and it's not working. And that old saying, comparison is a thief of joy. When we start going down that slippery slope, because we don't know, obviously, for you and I, you're here on this podcast, our health impacted our fertility. I was diagnosed with premature ovarian insufficiency at 28. I had both my kids with donor eggs. My daughter is almost 22 and my son's 19. He's left the house, and now she had left the house and now she's coming back. So this is, over 25 years ago when I got this diagnosis. And I remember, the OBGYN just reaching up on the shelf, grabbing the IVF brochure and saying, here you go, Sarah, you need to go to get donor eggs. I didn't get a second opinion. I didn't even take any time to grieve as to what was going on. I went straight to IVF and was lucky enough on the first fresh transfer with our daughter. It worked. Then we had 2 embryos left over and wanted to have the kids close together. And I'm like in a big hurry to do that. And my husband's like, Sarah, you seem a little stressed. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Well, those didn't work. And then we had to get on another list for a separate donor to have our son. So what I know for sure with functional medicine and functional nutrition, there is a lot of things we can do to improve the chances of pregnancy success. With diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian insufficiency, or primary ovarian insufficiency is what we specialize in, low AMH, high FSH. We also help people with endo, which a lot of times we see endo with low AMH as well. So lots of things to do here, but I literally, at that time, I wouldn't even have said I was stressed. Of course I was stressed. Like that's ridiculous, a devastating diagnosis. So most people we work with, they've, tried for 2 years. They've had multiple failed IUIs or IVFs. They've been told donor eggs, and they've been told donor eggs are some of this news in a very clinical fashion, right? And no one's really, looking at the mental, emotional side of this. And I've done a post and talked about adrenals, and maybe it's not menopause, maybe it's your adrenals that are completely out of whack because of we work with those like type A people where you're working a full-time job, perhaps dealing with a demanding boss, toxic workplace, And then you could be working as well as doing a graduate program. I can't tell you how many people are working on the master's or the PhD, doing extra schooling, as well as working, as well as trying to have their baby. I also see a lot of people that are trying to have their baby and we're in the middle of a huge renovation. Right? Because it's that nesting piece where you want to prepare the home for the baby, but it's like the baby doesn't really care where the baby lives. Obviously, you want to have basic shelter and those basic needs taken care of. But like we're talking about a reno here, and then we get kind of sidetracked with some of those things. And I do that where it's like you want something really badly, it's all you're thinking about it. So it's like, how do I distract myself from what I really want by taking vacations, doing renovations, doing all sorts of other things to distract myself from the thing that I really want, which is to have my baby. So the mental, emotional side of this is real, especially as we navigate the holiday season and people are, asking you where you are. So it is good to have something prepared when someone asks you, and you can say either if it's a close friend or family member, you can decide if you want to share what you're going through. Or you can say, you kind of like, we're working on it. Or you can say, you know what, we're really struggling right now. And I don't really want to go into it, but just, let's leave it that we're struggling, and I'll fill you in when I see fit. So you can kind of prepare some for the when the conversation happens, because when you go into these settings, the uncle, the grandma, the grandpa, some people might be, asking these intrusive questions, and even like friends and stuff too. Or you're at the holiday party and people are, talking all about their kids, and it's just, you're sitting around the table and people are, and you're over there hiding. So it is to have something prepared beforehand of what you want to share. Otherwise, you'll either feel triggered and like that heartless, callous person is asking, and you'll be collapsing. We've had people tell me they're in the bathroom at the workplace party, just like gutted because someone's asking these questions. And there is education to people around you when you start kind of saying, wait a minute, this has been hard for us. People are like, oh, they won't ask that question again. And so it is to get honest about your stress. If you are working more than 50 hours a week, and trying for your baby, maybe you've just gone through an IVF and it hasn't worked. We're not anti-IVF, we're pro-health. It's really important to work on your health. You can't skip that part. You've got to, and right now you're in a very empowering position to work on your health, and which impacts your pregnancy, your postpartum period, the health of your children, and more importantly, your health, right? So it's to put you first, so then you can be able to be the best parent. Because if your health is, you're in a horrible nosedive and postpartum, I've had people tell me they didn't work on their health and their postpartum period was horrible. They had postpartum rage. They had postpartum depression. They didn't even connect with their baby. They were just out for like a year because all the neurotransmitters, all the things that were imbalanced beforehand, why they were struggling, they didn't work on that. Yeah, so our Fab Fertile method really helps you to identify your stressors. So we love the biochemical side of things. If you're on this podcast, we talk a lot about functional medicine, functional nutrition. We use, functional lab testing, such as food sensitivity testing and stool testing, looking at the DNA of the stool, different from what you're doing with your fertility clinic. We're looking at genetic testing, again, different from what you're doing with your fertility clinic. Sorry, I should say for the stool testing, different from what you would do with your conventional medical doctor. A lot of things are missed, right? We're like, oh, my gut health is fine, but you're using a test that's like been used for, the past 20 years. There's been no advances in it, and it's just missing things. Ours are cutting edge functional lab testing. Same with the genetics. It really helps us personalize this. So a lot of times we're doing the genetics testing with the fertility clinic, but this is female hormone panel looking at FSH and glucose and thyroid, your methylation pathways. So then we can then personalize a diet and lifestyle plan just for you based on your gene variants. And so we love all that piece, but we also include, so we believe in mind, body, spirit. We also include the mental, emotional side of this piece. Obviously, going through this journey, you've had loss, right? The trauma experience with that, getting diagnosed with a POI, so premature ovarian insufficiency or diminished ovarian reserve, low AMH and high FSH, or it can be trauma around that. Watching everyone around you get pregnant while you're in the middle of the struggle and trying to figure it out, there's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves, a lot of impatience this can really, impact your relationship. So, most of the couples we work with, they're happy and in love, and there's some tweaks they need to do to work on communication to improve. Because many times it's, the man thinks he has to be supportive for the female, and he equally wants to have his baby. So, and so it's about him being able to voice how he's feeling, and she can hear that too, right? And so it's like for both of you to lean on each other. So it's not just one person supporting the other. Obviously, men and women do handle fertility issues differently. I've done many podcast episodes on that. It is important to do this together. And so the mental, emotional side of these things is key. And then really having a guide to like help you navigate this piece so you don't feel so alone. Because if someone hasn't experienced what it's like to be on the fertility journey, they just do not even know what it's like, how it can impact all aspects. And so like even going to your place of worship can be like you're just, there's families all over the place, there's children all over the place. And going into the department store, there's baby clothing. So it's in our society. There's all these gender reveals, and like way more. Like when I had my kids, there was no gender reveal party. There's all these pictures of the pregnancy. Like I had some ridiculous picture taken of me at a shower with a plate on my like a paper plate with like a bunch of ribbons on it, and then there I was looking, that was my shower. Here you've got all these beautiful pictures of people looking like a goddess, and lovely pictures all over social media, right? So things have changed, and a lot of this stuff is in our face. And so being able to have someone help you navigate that is key, and being able to see how you want to navigate it. A lot of times we're like, how's that person saying this? This is, how dare they say these things? It's so unfeeling of them. Well, they're not even thinking about you. They didn't even know this was a trigger for you. So it is to educate people around you as you see fit. But first of all, is to figure out how you want it to be handled. Because sometimes someone might, I know she's trying. I'm pregnant, and I want to tell her, and you're probably happy for your friend or your family member that's pregnant, but sad for you. And maybe you want them to text you, or you want them to call you, or like, how do you want them to handle it when they tell you? Because sometimes people then don't tell the person because they don't want to hurt them, so it's a whole thing. So you think about what you want, and maybe you just like, what, I just want you to tell you, for you to tell me, I want you to include me. I'm happy for you, but sad for me. Same with baby showers. Like there you are, heading out to a baby shower, and maybe you don't need to be the first one there. Maybe you don't need to organize it. Maybe you don't need to be the person organizing it. Maybe you can arrive late, leave early. Bye. Again, thinking about that piece is key. So, lots of success stories we've had when people like just feel like safe in their body. Like our coaches are trained in heart math. It's been used and for over 25 years in hospital settings and organizations and schools. There's over 400 peer-reviewed studies. It really helps you get out of that fight or flight into the parasympathetic, so your body knows it's safe to procreate. Because if we're in this impatience, we're in this panic, the body's like, I don't think so. I need to keep you alive. And so just thinking of this one here. So we had, and we've had many success stories actually the last couple of weeks too, people going through our protocols, making the changes, working on all of this, being very diligent and getting pregnant naturally after they've gone through failed cycles and failed IVFs, had miscarriages. So just thinking of this one. So we help a lot of people that have autoimmune issues. And so this one had Hashimoto's. She was trying for 2.5 years, and she did have miscarriage prior to seeing us. She had low cortisol. So we see people that are kind of like burnt out. Those adrenals are burnt out. And she has some mineral imbalance, which we can see in our hair tissue mineral analysis. Looking at that, looks at heavy metals as well as minerals. Low protein. So she wasn't absorbing her protein, some blood sugar issues, food sensitivities and gut infections. And she got pregnant naturally. and also a lot of stress that she was under. So being able to have voice to then be able to speak to someone about the mental, emotional side of this. Because you can go to a local functional medicine doctor and they can run all these tests. Everyone's talking to me about the Dutch test. Yes, we do like the Dutch test. That looks at your dry urine over the course of 24 hours. We can see which pathways your hormones are going down, looking at your adrenals. And yes, those tests are good. But that by itself, a practitioner is running a Dutch test, or maybe they're doing a stool test, and they're like, here's your protocol after you go. If they don't specialize in fertility, they're just going to miss things. We see certain themes that are happening here with low AMH and high FSH. And although like we love the biochemical, because we can't just sit here and hope for the best and continue eating a cheeseburger when perhaps we have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, nor can we go completely gluten-free and dairy-free and change all of our diet, but we're over here not even believing it's going to work in a complete stress state. So I do believe our Fab Fertile method includes all of it. The mind, body, spirit, leaning in on your intuition. Where do you feel on hope? Maybe you got that REI that said, sorry, donor eggs for you. Nothing's going to work. And that voice of it's not going to work is embedded in your soul, and you can't even see a path forward. Where if they're not, your REI is not trained in functional medicine, functional nutrition, they don't know the power of making diet and lifestyle changes. So, and then we go and ask them, hey, does diet and lifestyle changes matter? They'll be like, not really. It's nice to have, but it's not essential. You're just asking the wrong person. Simply put, asking the wrong person. It is important to have a team around you. You hire them as you see fit. And, again, we're not anti-IVF. We're pro-health. You can't skip that stage. The next one, as we navigate the holidays and we go forward with this, is chronic stress. And so we see this a lot, actually. It can result in self-sabotage too, where like you're looking to start something, you can feel it can feel overwhelming, and that the stress is a sneaky thing. And it's like those demands pile up, and all of a sudden small tasks become unmanageable. I remember at one point we had the little mailbox, the super box from the mail was across the street. And I came home from work and I'd be like, I cannot get across that street to open up, to go to the mailbox and look at what the heck's in there. It was just like, I felt like it was like one more thing that I had to do. And I'm like a doer. I'm like type A, let's get this crap done kind of person. And I'm like, I was burnt out. I was like working too many hours. I was in HR at the time, dealing with people that were like the company wanted to fire everybody. There was all these like so many issues at this company I was working at the time. It was extremely, a lot of I guess mismanagement. If you look back on it, you can say I was maybe part of that, but it was just like thrown into this crazy environment where I was like, remember hiring like 600 people in 1 year and then equally having to let many of them go because they didn't work out. So like a lot of stress. And then I was dealing with, and I was just burnt out. And so we see a lot of people, the type A people that are working like 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Like when are you even having time to have your lunch? When are you having time to see your partner? When are you having time to go to bed? And then the demands of like being on call all the time. If you're like got your phone on and there are people, like work is after you, and you're just this, all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed and burnt out. And there's a book called Burnout where they were doing some research for the book. And when they asked women, what's burnout? Not one person said, I don't know what that is. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I've had burnout at one point in my life. Most of us experience, you just feel overwhelmed. You can't really like focus. You can't concentrate. You're exhausted. You're frustrated. And also being on this journey along the way too. So it could be like very, busy work, very busy with the fertility journey can be a job in itself, going back and forth to the clinic, depending on what it is you're doing, right? So to the clinics, to appointments, trying retrieval. I see people doing retrieval after retrieval after retrieval, and they just said, keep going. And no one's worked on their health, and they're wondering why it's not working. and I'll share a little success story about that in a minute. But yeah, we've had people with like terrible egg quality, and yeah, so I'll just share that in a second. But it is to move the body out of that fight or flight, right, where we feel panicked, that we are worried, we're impatient. The whole fertility industry will perpetuate that impatience, and we may not know which way to turn. And so, and putting on the research hat and getting stuff done is your superpower, right? We work with a lot of people with in the healthcare field, teachers, typically very like caring, compassionate people that then get burnt out at their job, and then they're trying to conceive. And like we said, is it truly menopause, or is it your adrenals from the job, from a death in the family, from an estrangement, from a toxic workplace, from maybe you had a food sensitivity too, so it's like a mental emotional side of things and the physiological thing. Maybe you've dealt with anxiety for years, so imbalance in your neurotransmitters. So all of this piece, as I say, stress is a sneaky thing. It'll catch up with you, and then all of a sudden you're like, why can't I go to the mail? Or why is this like last thing that I have to do? Like you can't even go out and get the groceries because that just seems too much. And so it is being able to, give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, and ask for support. So, in our Fab Fertile method, we have that mindset coach is really going to help you to be able to. And a lot of times we're like, for ourselves, we're like putting all this pressure on ourselves, and we look at a friend going through the same situation. We're like, oh my goodness, wow, she really needs this or this or that. And for ourselves, we're like, oh no, you got to keep going. And we don't grant ourselves enough grace. So it is just back to that the person that had the terrible egg quality. She actually had endo as well. We have a lot of people with endometriosis and low AMH. She came to us and she had terrible egg quality, as she said. All the retrievals the quality was poor, and none of them made it. None of the embryos made it. And then she got to work. She made the changes. We found out she had non-celiac gluten sensitivity. She had thyroid issues. She had blood sugar issues, protein absorption issues, which seems to be a theme we see, and the adrenal piece, the mental emotional. So she was a busy professional and working a lot. And then she went through the protocol and the program, and then went to do her next egg retrieval. And the egg retrieval was beautiful. They did the transfer worked, and she recently showed me a picture of her son. So, that chronic stress, to be able to get help with that and to look at it, be able to see it, because sometimes we don't even recognize it. Like I know for me, when I was in burnout mode, I didn't even know. I was like, I must just keep going. And sometimes we're allowed to take a step back to rest, and that's actually what is going to allow you to take that giant leap forward. And then we got that biochemical stressor. So we talk about the mental, emotional side of things. We talked about that chronic stress that can creep up on us, especially at the holiday time. Is then like literally at the holiday time too, I'll pressure myself that I've got to go and do all these things like traditions I've always done. I've got to go to the house tour, the Christmas house tour. I've got to put up all these decorations. I've got to, see this family, organize this. I feel like I'm always the one. I don't know if people feel the same way. I'm always the one organizing the event or doing the party or doing all that stuff. And if I don't do it, no one's going to do it, which is it's a fallacy. If you don't do it, other people will do it, or maybe it doesn't need to be done. You're good. And so you don't need to put all this stuff on our shoulders, being like, okay, we don't need to do all this stuff. And it has to be like some perfect thing that every year that you exhaust yourself. And then you're like, when is this thing done? We're going to have the perfect meal. Everything's got to be laid out, and no, we can delegate that stuff out, and we can ask for help. And so the biochemical stress, like we talked about, the mental, emotional, the chronic stress, like we said, if you have got something going on from an overburden of toxins, maybe from the personal care, from the water you're drinking, there's over 300 contaminants in water. So you're pounding down that tap water. My kids make fun of me because we have the Berkey, and they're like, I am not drinking from that Berkey. I hate it. I don't know why. They hate it. They probably hate it just because I love it. But so they're like, I'm drinking out the bathroom tap water. I'm like, well, have fun with that. Is you fill your body filled with birth control pills and all the SSRIs that are in there, and maybe you're going to start growing breasts for my son, and something's going to happen to your penis. But I kind of go a little hardcore on stuff, but it's like just from drinking the tap water, yeah. So yeah, the toxins in our environmental toxins, or the personal care, you got those Glade plugins. I can't even now, when you walk by those, you feel like you want to pass out, because once you take these toxins out of your environment, you're like, yeah, so basically anything with fragrance you don't want, that's an endocrine disruptor. Got all these candles lit in the house for the holidays. Just make sure they're non-toxic candles, or do an essential oil. You can do, they have a nice kind of like greenery ones, or like a kind of like a cinnamon one or something like that. So, and then gut infections, right? You could work on the mental emotional side of things, which is really important. We've already talked about that. But if you got an infection in there, you got a parasite because you and the dog are making out. Maybe you guys are kissing. Dog's over there licking a puddle. We see like a lot of people getting parasites, not just from traveling, other places in the world. You can get them in North America, Europe, wherever you are. It's not all coming from your dog, but there's other ways to, and also back and forth. We see couples with a similar microbiome and you're passing fluids back and forth between each other. And so you could have H. pylori, so it's, lowering your stomach acid, then you're not able to absorb all these nice foods that you're eating. The thyroid dysfunction. So if you've got, low follicle count, zero follicle count, you've got low AMH or high FSH, is it the thyroid? We've done many podcast episodes on the thyroid. Definitely check those ones out. And why is the thyroid off? Maybe you've been told the TSH is normal, but is it optimal? What has been missed? That is key. Same with blood sugar. If you're feeling hangry, you got sugar cravings, you got mood swings, and your sleep is off, what's happening with your blood sugar? It's swinging back and forth. Not to say you have diabetes, but and stress can impact your blood sugar, and stress can also deplete your magnesium. So there you are. You got the mental emotional stress that you're trying to work on, and it's also impacting you from a biochemical standpoint. And maybe you got the eyeball that's twitching. Maybe you have the leg that's cramping up in the middle of the night because your magnesium stores are down. So to have magnesium glycinate, do a little magnesium lotion on the bottom of your feet. I have like a magnesium oil. The only problem with that is like I feel like I've sprayed it all over the bedroom. It's like everywhere. So anyways, I'm back to the magnesium supplements. I just find them easier. But yeah, you can if you put that on the bottom of your feet, it does feel like you're like in a nice little sleep coma. Especially if you do an Epsom salt bath before bed, just do that, or spray that magnesium lotion, and you're like out for the count. And so it's really important to get sleep. That's sleep trumps anything, everything from your cliffhanger Netflix video to the cliffhanger book you're reading. Sleep is to be able to do that, and it is to get your 7 to 9 hours, 9 being the best, but everyone has like a different. I like 9. My husband seems to be doing fine with 7. And so the gut infections, the environmental toxins, maybe you got fluoride in your toothpaste, that's impacting your thyroid. Maybe all the chlorine from the water filter, from the shower, all the vapors you're inhaling, maybe that's impacting your thyroid. So get a shower water filter. They're like $30. And then also the food sensitivities. We've done a lot of stuff on that. Like right now in the holiday season, you got a little bit of a window here after Thanksgiving if you're American, and in between Christmas, you can do the elimination diet. So you can do that in between there, and then reintroduce the foods, and then you'll be ready to roll for the new year. Or maybe you want to start it. You want to start it January the 1st. The thing is to start it and not put it off, because it is only 10 days. 10 days. And then systematically reintroducing the foods. I've got a lot of episodes on how and why to do the elimination diet, or our top recommendation is, the elimination diet. So Fab Fertile method, we look at the mental emotional stress, we look at the chronic stress, and then also the biochemical stress, what's going on from a physiological standpoint. And so this person here, I'll just share with you, she's 41. She had 3 failed IVFs with secondary infertility. She worked on this for 12 months. She had blood sugar imbalance. Her progesterone was low. She did have estrogen dominance. She had food food sensitivities, gut infections, sleep issues. Work with her we work with both partners, and then she was pregnant with her next IVF. So, lots to help when we've been told that things aren't going to work, and being able to lean into your intuition. Either it's like from a spirit standpoint, spirit baby, just knowing in your heart of hearts this can work, or if or your faith. We include in our program either an energetic session, or a Christian couples coaching session. If neither of those resonate, you can get additional 30 minutes of coaching. But really being able to know in your heart of hearts that, that some way, somehow you will expand your family. So to let go of how it's going to happen, and being able to trust the process, and have your body feel safe. And because right now it wants to survive, not procreate, because we got all these stressors coming in, and then with the added stressors during the holidays. So grant yourself some grace. There's things we can do to improve your chances of pregnancy success for 2024. So I encourage you to book a call with me. And so really, if you want to learn more about what we do, so just go to fabfertile.com. So fabfertile.com, and click on apply here. We'll come up with a plan for you to improve the chances of this working. This call is for you and your partner. So I encourage you to do that. And we'll, if you have blood chemistry too, we can review that for you. As part of our team, we have an OBGYN. They're our medical case reviewer. We have, so they'll have their eyes on your case from a medical standpoint. We have functional nutrition practitioners that review our testing that we talked about: food, stool, genetics, blood chemistry, semen as well. And then also the fertility mindset coaches that really help you be able to see a path forward, work on trauma. Obviously, we can refer out to therapists, and we use emotional freedom technique to refer out to that. But our fertility mindset coaches can really help you, be that guide alongside of you, so you can be able to visualize a path forward and get out of that, start either ruminating about the past or catastrophizing. So ruminating about the past or catastrophizing about the future. So most of us are like, what's going to happen in the future? Will I ever get pregnant? Is it going to happen? Am I going to be doomed? Are the eggs too old? Am I too old? Is this my last chance? And then we're in a big panic. And then it destroys the relationship with our partner and all of our social relations, all this stuff, because we're on this single-minded focus, and we haven't even stopped to look at our health. And so again, we're not anti-IVF, we're pro-health. You're in a powerful position right now to really make amazing changes to improve the chances of getting pregnant naturally, or improving your chances of getting pregnant with your own eggs. So if you want to chat with me, I'm happy to talk. And so take care.